JC, what do we do when the ATF shows up?
Oh my goodness. Well, don't run and hide. That's for damn sure. Oh, we're going to go over a number of different topics today relative to inspections so that we all are very knowledgeable on what to expect. Many of you have gone through inspection processes previously. Maybe the last time you were inspected, things were a little differently. We say it time and time again. Yes, that IOI is going to show up. They're going to be nice to you. They don't want to cause any conflict. They want you to be comfortable with them. They want you to share information with them. And you, rightfully so, need to take some caution because, well, they're regulators, they're investigators. They are there to ensure that you are compliant with all the federal regulations and all the laws and rules around transferring firearms and conducting commerce with firearms. So let's take a look at what you need to be prepared for. JB.
Coming. There we go.
All right. So the firearms compliance inspection, that's what these things are called, right? So the ATF shows up. They are going to show up during business hours. It's going to be very unusual for them to call ahead. Keep that in mind. It does happen from time to time, especially with FFLs that are outliers. Hey, if you're lucky enough to get a phone call and a heads up, by all means, consider yourself lucky. Maybe you should go play the lottery as well. So big thing is when they do show up, actually one of the 7 deadly sins is refusing entry. Do not refuse entry at all. You must allow them to enter the premises and conduct their inspection during your normal operating hours. So remember that. Be welcoming to them. Invite them in. Make them comfortable. Find them a good spot in the store, somewhere where they can spread out a little bit, somewhere quiet where they can get through things. We recommend you do not put them on the sales floor or in front of the customers. It makes customers feel a little bit, I don't know, uncomfortable. If they know ATF is sitting there looking at your records, they probably not a great customer experience for them. So you want them off the sales floor. You don't, want to put them out there and in front of the customers and as they're going through everything. So just set them up somewhere comfortable, back room, warehouse, whatever the case may be. Don't put them in the coldest room in the building. Don't put them in the hottest room in the building. Make sure it's a comfortable spot. You need to be prepared and be organized when the ATF walks in. I would tell you this, that, you need to be able to immediately provide them with the records they request. And we'll go over some of those things here in a moment. The other thing for all of you NSSF and VIP FFL consultant clients, please pick up the phone and call us immediately upon their arrival so we can walk through some things and just understand what's going on, see what they're looking for, make sure it's a standard compliance inspection. So pick up that phone and call us immediately so we can give you some guidance. It tends to be a stressful situation sometimes. So we just want to talk you down off that ledge and give you some real quick tips and some guidance for you to follow immediately when you're engaging and interacting with the IOI for the first time. That typical ATF firearms compliance inspection is going to start out with an inventory verification. They are going to spend their time going through all of your firearms and comparing them to your A&D records. It's going to be book to gun, gun to book to make sure everything is accounted for, make sure everything is recorded properly, and to make sure that they verify all those records. It's very rare that they do not go over the entire inventory. It does happen from time to time, but I would tell you that it's very rare. They will do 100% inventory verification. So be aware of that. You want to make sure that you know how to print off your A&D record if you're utilizing an electronic A&D provider. All right. You need to know how to print that off. You need to ask them, do they want to scan or do they want to physically check everything off? If they want an electronic copy of your 4473, we don't recommend it. We recommend if you have to, you give them a PDF copy. And you ask them to provide that back to you upon departure, because we don't want them leaving the building with all of that PII. There's no reason for them to take that with them. So you want to make sure that they're doing everything on premise for the inspection. All right. And if a request comes down, you can always pick up the phone and call us and ask us what to do in that given situation. So next, once they get done with your inventory, they are going to move on to the ATF Form 4473 and start a review of the last 12 months. Typically, what happens, what are we going here? Typically, what happens is they are going to look at only the last 12 months. So if they come in, say they came in today, they will look through to August 14th of 2022. So you're going to want to make sure that your last 12 months, and sometimes I say, put 13 months together. So that way it's easy to kind of put the last month in your file and you're ready to go. We want you to keep those records organized. If you file them by TTSN, if you file them by chronological order, if you file them by alphabetical order, whatever the case may be, you just need to make sure that you are consistent across the board. All right. So make sure that those are organized, readily accessible, and you're able to provide those in short order when requested. Keep in mind that the ATF is going to walk in with if you're a NICS state, with the last 60 days of NICS transaction numbers to verify that you have recorded all of those NICS transactions properly. You want to make sure that you have that ability to prove that. You want to make sure those firearm transaction records, that ATF Form 4473 is completed properly, especially those last 60 days, because they're going to go through and verify every one of those NICS transaction numbers you've been issued. If you're a point of contact state, chances are they will walk in with the control numbers from that point of contact state. Sometimes they have a lot more than 60 days. They may have the entire year's control numbers or the last 12 months control numbers to verify against. So you need to be prepared for that with point of contact states. Denied transactions. They're going to review the last 5 years of all of your denied transactions. Just did a mock inspection last week in FFL, helped him out, got his denied transactions all squared away, made sure those were organized. You want to organize them by year and then by whatever filing system you use. I always prefer chronological. That's my recommendation, but just get those organized in such a way that they know, okay, this is the last 5 years. Here's 2020, 21, 22, etc. So you want to just make sure those are organized nice and clean. Make sure they're completed through item 35. That's right. You have to print and sign, do not date on those denied transactions. So you want to make sure that everything is completed through box 35. All right. Next, you're going to get a closing conference. That closing conference is kind of that time for the IOI to tell you how you did. Now, what we recommend with closing conferences, typically they'll be scheduled. Typically the IOI will say, hey, I'll be back in a week. I'm going to finish up my report and I'm going to come back and we'll do a closing conference. We're going to do your acknowledgement of federal regulations. We're going to go over any violations that I found, etc. Always ask them for a draft copy prior to that closing conference. The reason for this is so you have the opportunity to formulate what's called the licensee responses. So you want to have the opportunity to really think about any violations cited and think about how you're going to react to those when asked, what are you going to do to ensure this doesn't happen in the future? It also gives us a good idea of what's coming down the pipe as far as your inspection results are concerned. So we want to have that opportunity. You also want the opportunity to correct and reconcile anything throughout the inspection. And what does that mean? That means that you can ask the IOI, they don't necessarily have to do this, but you can ask the IOI if they wouldn't mind putting notes, post-it notes, sticky notes on the 4473s that they find issues with, because you want to have the opportunity to conduct training with regard to any of the cited violations. It also gives us a good idea of what's coming down the pipe as far as your closing conference. So all of these things we're doing as a strategy so we know what to expect at the very end. All right. Don't forget to partner and call us. We can help you through this process. Okay. And remember, it ain't over until it's over. If we have an FFL going through an inspection right now, he hasn't had his closing conference yet, but the IOI found some stuff. Let me tell you something. Whether or not it gets them out of a revocation or any type of administrative action is neither here nor there. With this particular FFL, it ain't over until it's over. We're trying to do some things to basically right the wrongs that were identified during his inspection before that closing conference, because we want the opportunity and ability to tell the IOI at the closing conference, hey, yes, that was wrong. You're right. It's a citable violation, but just a heads up, the FFL corrected it, and this is what they did to correct it. So that way, maybe it grants them a little bit of latitude to either A, add that as a licensee response that although this was a cited violation, the licensee fixed it, or maybe it'll rescind that violation depending on what it is. So we want that opportunity. So always remember, it ain't over until it's over. All right. Until you get that final report of violations in your hand or sign that acknowledgement of regulations, that inspection is still open. Next slide.
Yeah, JC, a couple things quickly. I think you were referring to that inspection going on where, so coincidentally, guys, I mean, we've been doing this for a long time and we've been through almost 100 hearings in the last 2 years. But, most of the IOIs, area supervisors, and definitely the DIOs out there, directors, ATF directors, all know us, either through NSSF or hearings or on-site reviews. And it was funny, we had a call last week with an FFL, took him about 20 minutes to get through the issue and, trying to figure out his strategy. He had all types of strategies he was going to propose and how do we work and how do we partner and all this. And in the end, I said, well, who's your IOI? And it was somebody we basically are very friendly with. And, within about 15 minutes and speaking with the IOI, we were able to basically talk this FFL off the ledge, as we say. Now, we obviously, JC was just referring to, it's an FFL in the middle of an inspection, but thankfully he called us and didn't wait till the end. And that's the most important part about this slide is don't wait till the end. Yeah. No matter how prepared you are, your fight with the ATF on violations is going to be a lot different than having a fight with coaching partners and experts behind you or on your team. And even if you're not a VIP or an NSSF member, call us anyway. Go out to our website and grab our how to prepare for your next inspection guide. Right there at the bottom, click on the bonus file button and all of our information is right there for you. If you're a first-time FFL, get in touch with us, make a call. We'll help you through this, but don't wait to the end of your inspection. Don't wait till your closing conference is scheduled to give us a call. By then, it's usually much too late, and you missed some great opportunities to reconcile, make corrections, and kind of minimize the impact of your closing conference if you have violations. Yeah. So, JC, you think it's a good idea if I read that letter we got last night? Would that?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so folks, again, we get, people find us on Google, word of mouth, through you guys or our website, et cetera. And, we got this letter yesterday. I'd like to read it to you just to show you how critically important it is. And again, pat yourselves on the back for attending today and getting this information and being with us in the past. But here's the letter. So we received it. It went to info@FFL Consultants, which is our main email inbox. It says, hey, and I'm going to change the name in the state just to protect the FFL. But here it is. My name is Bob, and I've been an FFL holder for approximately a decade. I run a firearm and machine shop in the Midwest. And this business has been built from the ground up by me and my wife to support a family, which now includes 2 young children. During that time, I've maintained immaculate records, complied with every ATF request, and have run a highly regarded business with impeccable reviews. This week, I was visited by the ATF inspector for what I expected to be a routine audit. The inspection of books and inventory was quick and without incident, and the agent was complimentary of the quality and organization of my records, which they typically are, right? And this is as they are befriending you and building rapport with you. Next, during the process, there were several things that caught my eye with regard to the ATF's records collection and retention. Credit to the FFL for keeping a close eye on the IOI's activities. Several days after the inspection, I was informed that the ATF will be pushing for revocation of my federal firearms license due to a single transaction record. This form 4473 showed an expired state concealed handgun license as one of the forms of identification. It was actually used as the exemption in lieu of the background check, which was permissible in this state, but it was expired. This individual also presented a valid state driver's license, was a prior sheriff's deputy, and even went to renew his concealed handgun license the next morning upon being notified. This individual was and is simply qualified to legally own firearms. I am currently awaiting my second meeting with the inspector to discuss what's next, but I have been told that I will have the option of fighting this outcome or voluntarily forfeiting my license and turning over all of my records. At this point, I am weighing my options, looking for insight and embracing support where available. My family and I are concerned for the future of our country when this is what passes as justice. And yes, we have already been in contact as late as it was last night. We gave some consoling advice. We'll be talking again with him this afternoon, and hopefully we can find a way through this unfortunate violation. But back to what we heard earlier, the IOIs must find violations, otherwise they're not doing their job. So everything you can do with or without us is critical to your success.